Elizabeth, we have so much going on. We're going to have the guys help us, but we have all this staging to do, and it's incredible the difference it makes. But why do we all do all this staging?
Staging is such an important part of our business in new home construction. We have a lot of model homes and spec homes on the market, and we do that because people like to come in and see what they're going to build. Well, we stage over 80 of these homes every year, so we're really busy. It gives you a better feeling, and that's what we're going for.
You know, we're going to talk today about how staging and Feng Shui go together and why it's so important, as well as the modern movement and how everything ties together.
We are. Now, I know the guys have a few questions.
I've got some organics here. Is this going to be helpful?
Yes, succulents are great.
Organic.
What about this table?
I would say with the wood elements, that's definitely a Feng Shui
All right.
there.
Pillow solid or pattern?
Solid.
More minimal.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of close to Luke's, but this is a little bit different. Will this work for the Feng
That
Shui?
works. A mixture of natural elements.
And you're going to talk about that today, I think.
We are. I like that.
No, this is different. Metals?
Metals definitely go with Feng Shui. I think that's a
Nice
good
clean lines.
That over there. I think we're going to do well.
Looks
So
good.
let's do this and- all right. See, they got this.
Perfect.
Welcome to Between the Studs. We are Granite Ridge Builders, custom builders serving northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and also parts of southern Michigan. We have been building custom homes for almost 2 decades, and we're really passionate about what we do. So join us today as we explore the processes, the trends, and also tips that characterize today's new home. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us today. I love the topic that we're going to be talking about because it's so important in our homes, and that's going to be staging and Feng Shui and what that has to do with new construction and all of the homes that we're building.
You know, wait, Kayla, I got another twist on this. What is the most popular floor plan and architectural style that people want today? It is modern.
Absolutely.
All right, so do you think you can incorporate Feng Shui, staging, and modern and show our audience how relevant it is?
Of course, I'd have to say Feng Shui, staging, and modern go hand in hand, and it's all ties together, and it's really a lot of what we're doing.
And staging is so important with Granite Ridge Builders because we have about 80 spec homes that are available for sale at any one given time. These homes are located throughout Fort Wayne and the suburbs such as Grable and Huntertown and Leo. We're also up in the Goshen area, so New Paris, we have some in Ligonier. Now, it's important to stage these homes because 80% of people want to see it staged. They want to walk in and have the energy and have the welcoming feel and visualize themselves living in the home. So it's very important to us.
And beyond just being something that people like to see when they walk into a home, a selling realtor will tell you that it can add 6% value on the home just by it being staged, that people walk in and they are willing to pay more money for a home that looks staged and gives that wonderful energy and appearance.
And today we're going to talk about a little bit about decluttering. Almost 100% of everybody you talk to says that they can understand how decluttering makes their life and environment better.
And I know for sure when Granite Ridge goes out with Choice Design's help and we stage a house, we always get an offer within 2 or 3 days. Very important subject.
I like a lot of staging, just so you know. We get a lot.
We like it. We like it.
One thing people don't think about is actually staging the kitchen. The kitchen is the heart of the home. It's where the family is, and that's where everyone kind of congregates. So staging that kitchen is really huge.
And you might not think that there is a lot to stage when it comes to the kitchen, but I think the biggest thing, like Tony said, was decluttering. That's usually going to be the space where could be a lot of messes, so that's very important when selling a home.
And it's not as popular, but I know I'm not alone that I don't mind seeing the master bedroom staged as well, because again, what I want is to be able to walk into a home and have some idea of how my things might fit in there, and you can start to see that with staging.
And we're doing a lot of staging on master spas or master suites that we haven't done, and of course the great room.
All right, so we've talked a lot about some great stats, but I think we need to let our viewers visualize this. So let's show them some pictures of some of our homes before it had furniture or before it was staged, and then after it was staged, and ask yourself, which one would you rather come out and see?
Talk about Feng Shui. Feng meaning wind, Shui meaning water. And we're talking about an art that goes back 6,000 years ago and where it originated in China. And it's actually the art of placement, how you place things in your environment, and it results in hopefully good health, good fortune, peace, and serenity. Also a very enjoyable place, and also for us, a home that's going to sell.
That's the most important one.
Now, Lonnie, with that Feng Shui, it's the study of energy flow and how placements and objects within your environment will affect your personal energy flow. And when your personal energy flow is affected by those things, then it's going to affect how you think and act, and ultimately if you succeed or if you fail in your personal and professional life. And I was thinking about that when I read that in my own office, for a while there, my desk was, I had my back to the door, the entrance of my office.
We used to love scaring you.
Yeah,
Just so
right,
you know.
right. And I got smart and finally turned it around, and I've actually noticed I'm in a better mood. I feel like I get more accomplished.
True.
I interact with more people throughout the day, and just making that subtle change, just turning it 180 degrees, has made a big difference in, I guess, my energy flow.
That's interesting.
And you can actually, there's a term for what you're talking about, the energy and the flow of everything. They've termed that chi. So having good chi is what we're trying to achieve in our homes and in our placement and where we work and all of those kinds of things. There's different elements that you can incorporate to also achieve good chi, and that's going to be the 5 elements: earth, wind, water, wood, and metals. So that can definitely help, and we'll talk about that in a later segment about how those
a lot
are
of that in your modern, you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And modern
That
is
makes a
great,
lot of sense.
all of that.
Yeah, so you can see how important all of these are to our business and to real estate, between the staging, the Feng Shui, and of course the art of placement, which is anti-clutter, minimalism, calming environment.
Organic materials, all of that has to do with it. It's amazing the art and the study that goes into these elements.
Lonnie brought up the history of Feng Shui and it going back 6,000 years. The term staging has only been around for about 35 to 40 though. A woman by the name of Barb Schwartz up in Washington, she started doing this with her real estate practice, and she started selling more and more homes and doing more things. And everyone was coming to Barb saying, "Can you please teach me?" So then back in 1985, Barb stopped the real estate practice and started teaching people how to do the staging, and she incorporated a lot of the Feng Shui into the staging, and that's how it all became around.
Wow, what a business it is today. I mean, almost every home that we do is staged now, and you can see people in existing homes. It's just easier to visualize how you can live in that environment. So staging is a massively big part of our company today.
And of course, one of my favorite architects, Frank Lloyd Wright, was the same student of the Feng Shui, and he did it much earlier. And the part that stands out to me about what he did, though, it had to do with the exterior of the home, the placement of the home. So when he would go out to a hill and he'd be planning a home, he said it should be about the brow of the land, not above it, not below it, but that it should fit in there and anchor into the mountain. And it's one of the things that we do as well. When we go out to walk a lot, we've got a lot specialist that comes out with us. We go visit people's property and we start to decide where the house should sit, and we use these same tenets of Feng Shui as we decide where the house should be placed.
Hey, Izzy, I just learned a new term on that, architect. Frank Lloyd Wright, when he did his thing back in the early 1900s, he's actually now called a star-architect. Guess how I got that name? It's a postman too, meaning star and architect, they blend it. So he's what we call a star-architect. And guess what? We have 5 star-architects in our office just for you guys to revise plans, change them up, and we love doing it. But again, that's a star-architect. Hey, let's take a look at some of these with before and after shots of what we're talking about with staging and also the Feng Shui look.
Welcome back. Now, why don't we take some time and maybe go over some guidelines and principles about Feng Shui that we can give our viewers as they're thinking about this. And I want to start with the outside, kind of how you place that home. I know Izzy kind of talked about Frank Lloyd Wright a little bit, but when it comes to the Feng Shui principles, really you want to nestle that house and kind of think like an armchair, a nice comfy armchair. You have a nice back, got 2 nice armrests, and then a nice flat surface for that house to sit down on in between. Now, in our area, Indiana being a flatter region, it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult, but you can accomplish this by some of your landscaping as well. And one thing to keep in mind with that is you do want to keep the front of the house open and unobstructed. And another principle to keep in mind is how high that house is off of the street. You don't want it to be too high. You also don't want it to be too low. One of the things we keep in mind, especially when we're laying that house out, is we typically don't want to be more than 3 foot above the curb from the street. So just a couple things to keep in mind with Feng Shui when you're laying that house out on the lot.
And Luke, I have a really good principle, staging and also Feng Shui, but the front door. You always heard the front door is the biggest difference in any home. People make a decision about what your house looks like, how they feel about it, just your front door. So we take a lot of time in staging your areas around that entry, coming in, and then also your foyer. Sometimes they put plants there, but there's a lot to do with that front door and how it looks. So that's part of our staging and Feng Shui.
Another principle relates to windows in a home. The Feng Shui principle says a home is joyful if it is light and it's bright and full of windows. And we think about like the modern home today, they love windows. It's not unusual to have 2 full walls of glass. And so today we're doing those kind of things, or a full wall of glass that goes up 8 or 9 feet in height, all kinds of windows in different shapes and sizes. And the other thing about windows is it helps old people like me read.
And also doors now. We're putting in 8 foot by 8 foot doors rather than a 6 by 6 door. That makes a difference, and it also brings that outside in, which is again that flow of the house that you're looking for.
Other features of Feng Shui are curved walkways, so a curved pattern leading up to your front door. And we've talked a little bit about plants and trees, but what's important, they need to be healthy. The healthiness is what's important in Feng Shui. And then inside the house, taller ceilings, so 9 foot, 10 foot, 2-story ceilings. And then placement of things such as the bedrooms. In Feng Shui, you want your bedroom in the back of the home. The reason being that's typically a quieter area.
I have a couple other stats when it comes to bedrooms. So the Feng Shui principle is that a parent's and children's door should never be facing each other in their bedroom, which that might be why my oldest son and I have some conflict. I don't know. And that's probably why I put them on the other side of the house now. But another principle would be that the master bedroom is on the main level.
And the one that always has stood out to me is the idea of watching how the flows of energy go in general. You don't want energy hitting energy. So this could be as you walk into the house, as you open the door, you don't want to look directly at energy coming back at you from a staircase. So with the modern movement, again, we're doing a lot of these hidden staircases where they're kind of put out into the house into a different area. Or we're even seeing staircases that are almost invisible now, where they've got different components that make them look very see-through, which again would help the flow of energy move in a more smooth way.
And that's why we're doing a lot of cable now, just the one tread, and you don't see the riser on that. And those are really, really coming strong, and I know we're doing a lot of those in our houses today.
And Izzy, you mentioned the front door and coming in and hitting energy. You never want your back door to be right across from your front door, because then the energy all leaves the house.
Yeah. Well, you know what? These are great principles. Let's show our audience some examples of what we're talking about. Let's get into maybe color, some of those things that are applicable to what people are living in today. How's that?
Sounds like a plan.
So again, today we're talking about staging and the modern concepts, and also Feng Shui, how they all kind of intermix. And when we talk about Feng Shui particularly, we're talking about the art of placement, and that's becoming more and more important on the outside of the home with respect to where we place the home, but then also on the inside. And we're going to talk about some of those inside components, right?
Yeah, and these come down to materials. So we are sitting in front of a beautiful fireplace, which is very modern and Feng Shui. We have the stone, the stack stone, which is linear, and there's a lot of different shapes when it comes to the stones, and of course colors too. Those will affect your energy and your mood.
And on the subject of stone, we're actually bringing stone in and putting it on a great room wall or a dining room wall. Sometimes old bricks brought in, we're painting that brick. It's kind of interesting what's happening with respect to stone and brick on the inside of a home.
Yes, and with Feng Shui, less is more. So there's a lot of natural elements like the stone, the metals, but there's not a lot of clutter. So these things are being brought in as permanent features. So not a lot of accessories. So you might see,
lines,
cleaner lines and metals that are more of a fixed piece on the wall.
And another thing with respect to fireplaces is this linear, long fireplace. I would call it a modern fireplace. It's pretty cool and very popular now.
It is popular, and we have a pretty one behind us, but we're also doing a lot of them where they take water into effect.
That's
and
unbelievable.
It's water
Yeah.
in the fireplace. And we're putting these in a lot of different rooms in the home. And then, of course, outside. Outdoor living is so popular. And we're bringing the outdoor in and the indoor out, which was popular with Feng Shui, right, and is popular with Feng Shui. So having a fireplace out there is a natural element.
And speaking of rocks, the colors are even changing, or they're interesting. We're talking about red and blue and green. They're bringing color out of those rocks.
They are bringing a lot of color in. And then with the stone, we're mixing the wood, so the natural wood. So it's very pleasing and very soothing.
It's interesting how Feng Shui and the modern movement have kind of come together, and it's a very popular concept today in today's new homes.
All right, Elizabeth, I got your modern fireplaces up. I got this desk put together. Now you have to be pulling my leg. That last accessory piece is the only thing left to stage in this room?
That is the only thing we want in here, and it has some nice succulents, which goes well with the space. This is our modern room, so we don't want a lot of clutter.
Yeah, so let's talk about how modern kind of ties in with that Feng Shui movement.
Well, less is more. So with the modern, you don't have a lot of clutter. You don't have things with no purpose around. Everything has a purpose. And modern, we're really excited, is becoming very popular in our area. So a lot of people are coming in and they want to build a modern home. Now, what we're standing in is what you think of modern, all white. It's very stark. Some people think it's cold, but it's evolved a little bit, the modern movement, where we're bringing in some warmer colors. So we're doing a lot of black framed windows. We're doing a lot of wood species. So we're bringing in different elements, so it's still clean, but it's warmer.
Right. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, Feng Shui talks about energy flow. And with modern, like you said, without having that clutter, with having things kind of the same neutral type colors, that energy just flows right through. So that's a big thing. And when we talk about staging, I know a lot of times we'll go into houses and maybe a homeowner has a wall that's painted like it's an accent wall, and it's painted red. At that point, think of how that energy just stops at that wall. Like your eyes attract to that wall. In this type of the modern, we don't have that.
You're right. And you know, modern isn't for everyone, I will say, but most people who do walk into it, they're not overwhelmed. You know, some spaces you walk in and there's so much stimulation, you're overwhelmed. So it maybe isn't what you want in your home. It's definitely popular, but it is a calming, soothing atmosphere.
Right, and that's the nice thing. There's parts of modern that I really do enjoy, but as far as having an entire modern maybe room or a house, that's not for me, but there's some things that I like to add or dabble into, and that's what's nice about Granite Ridge is you can do some of those things. Some people really love having the modern interior, but not the modern exterior, or vice versa.
I agree, and you know, I really think modern is a flexible design because you can change it up really easily because it is so simple. So with just a solid wall, a solid color floor, you can mix it with different furnishings to change that feel over the years. Yeah,
and one of the things we did recently was we took some of our more popular floor plans and we changed just a few key elements to it and made it give it that modern flair. And we probably should show some of those things to these people.
We should. We've had a great response. So here's a few ideas that we have coming up.
At Granite Ridge, we have staged a lot of homes, probably hundreds and hundreds of homes, and we have definitely learned that there is a right way to stage and a wrong way to stage, and it makes a very big difference in selling your home.
And you can tell if it's the wrong way because I've set it up. So that's why I am no longer in charge of staging homes. But this is a perfect example to me of something that is set up probably for a nice gathering of people. They all want to sit together and be able to talk and look at one another as they speak. But when it's talking about staging, this really feels tight and a little
Yep.
bit claustrophobic. And so what would we do to change this?
So what I would do is we'd have this moved. This sofa here could go against the other wall, and just look how much bigger this room feels. If you have a great room and it's a little bit on the tight side, open it up as much as possible, because this will make the room look so much bigger. There's definitely a difference between staging a home and living in a home. That might have been a great setup for living in the home, but for trying to sell, this is much better way to do it. And we have a couple other examples we can talk about over here.
Yeah. So as much as I think I know what not to do, this does feel like something that is right. What is it that makes this setup feel nice, big, and open?
It's because it is exactly like you said. It is open when you walk in. Nothing closes off. I think a really good principle to think about when you're staging a home is never have the back of the sofa to a front door or a walkway. You definitely want it to be open and facing you, just like this is here. So having the chair off to the side, and it's inviting. And it makes the room seem a lot larger. I think the biggest issue that people can come into in staging is when there's a fireplace. What do you do, and how do you put your sofa when there's a fireplace? If there was a very popular one is a corner fireplace right now. If there was a corner fireplace right behind us in that corner, what you'd never want to do is put a sofa exactly where we're standing, because again, that's going to close off the room. Usually you're on the other side and you're going to come in and you would be backing up to that sofa, and that's just never very inviting at all, and it closes the room off. So making sure in staging furniture placement, everything is as open and far away as possible.
Whenever you're talking about Feng Shui and staging and modern, one major component of all this is the coloring of it.
It is a major component, and of course we're going for simplicity. So the color of the home inside, you may go really neutral. Your walls could be just a white, they could be a light gray or a tan, because you're going to bring in a few elements that are very simple that you want to showcase, such as the art behind us. So this is one spot where we're going to bring some color into the home, and you can see with the neutral wall, it really makes all of the colors in this artwork pop.
And as we're talking about this, we're talking a lot with color. And Elizabeth, you taught me a big thing, and that's advancing colors and receding colors. Advancing is like your reds, your yellows, your oranges that kind of welcome you. And then you have your receding, which are your more dark purples and dark blues that kind of go to the background in your eye.
And when we're talking about color, we talked about the artwork behind us, but this is another place where you could do an accent wall in that modern or Feng Shui home. So you may have one wall, you may go with something like a red, but you might go with something more receding, like a purple on that wall. Now, color is so important, and that brings in our lighting, because the lighting that we choose will have a big effect on what our colors are.
Especially when you are focusing in on the artwork, because you don't have a lot of other accessories around the room. You want to make sure that you really highlight that artwork. And so you're going to want more of a brighter light maybe on that. You're going to want to go more towards a blue scale almost when you're talking about the new Calvins with LEDs.
Yeah, it's really evolved over the last few years with LEDs, and you have to be really careful, because if you get the wrong bulb, you could have a yellow light, or you could have one that's so bright. So depending on the situation, you want to make sure you have the right bulb, especially, when it comes to doing your makeup.
Yeah.
You want to have the right bulb for that.
I know I always worry about that with the makeup, but when it comes to the cooking, we want to make sure that we have enough light in the kitchen on there. So you may want a little bit more of a brighter light in the kitchen than what you do in what the bathrooms are.
And then of course with the modern design, you're going to also have a lot of the natural light, because we do have so much glass. So a lot of important elements when it comes to Feng Shui and modern design.
And we just threw a lot of information at you in a very brief, short amount of time. So if you have questions, please call us at Granite Ridge Builders, or just come on through the door and ask us. We'll be more than happy to help you out. One more piece. Oh, got it.
Awesome.
This is so exciting. We are in a new room that we have at Choice Designs and Granite Ridge Builders, a kitchen that has just recently been put together. And one thing I love about this is it shows more of an open floor plan to it, which is really huge when it comes to Feng Shui and also the modern movement.
Absolutely. So if you take a look behind us here, you have the open kitchen, but then you even have another space where you can see how it could be connected to a great room, or how however else your home would be set up. And a couple things in this open floor plan that really are key components is making sure that your furniture placement, which we talk about, is in the right spot. You want an open floor plan, you want everything to be connected, but you also do still want separate rooms so people know what each room is meant for.
We're doing a lot more of that with ceilings though too, aren't we right now?
Exactly. So ceiling is a great way to section off the room with still having the open floor plan. You can even do that with your furniture setup as well. You could do that with some wall partitions and some decorative elements as well.
I remember we had a parade home a few years ago where the entire open concept, the kitchen had a normal flat ceiling. The living room had a beautiful coffered ceiling to it. The sunroom that was connected to it had that shiplap, almost like a railroad tie thing in the ceiling. And then we had the dining room, which was more the box tray. And even though everything was just one open space, there was still a definition of each area. And we're also doing that with rugs.
Absolutely. Rugs play a huge part, but I love all the ceiling treatments. And another way to section off rooms or to create each room as their own space is wall treatments or special accents. So what you can see way behind me here is a natural stone material, which is very important. You can even just do an accent wall of paint for a little bit less expensive, but all of these natural materials play into the modern open concept. And another thing to think about with that would be your fireplace. That's another way to really define the different rooms in the modern movement.
You know, one thing we should mention is, you know, at Granite Ridge Builders, we build a lot of villas, 40, 50, 60 a year, and our clients are bringing a lot of good ideas to us. They don't know, but Feng Shui ideas. They're decluttering, they're minimal, going more minimal, you might say. Lots of glass, open concepts, things that play into this Feng Shui, you know, philosophy very, very closely.
You know, wider halls,
Wider
so
halls,
the flow is
yeah.
much easier. You're right. I mean, that is what we are looking for at our age. It's just that declutter is something that's really, really nice.
Yeah, and speaking of decluttering, I think what I learned in this show, it helped that I turned my desk around, but I think after this I need to go clean, maybe declutter my office.
You do.
When it comes to these principles of feng shui and staging, sometimes it's not immediately obvious how the energy is flowing through the spaces either. So sometimes you do have to kind of live there or move there for a moment and just kind of play around with some different ideas to find the right flow.
And that's why our staged homes are so important for people to come out and see them.
Yeah, we spend a lot of effort and time into making these feng shui or using these principles in our homes. And we have over 80 specs and models that are available right now. So our spec homes are available for sale. So these are finished homes you can walk into and purchase. And then we do have a few model homes. And a model is a home that is there and it's not for sale right now. Eventually it will be, but we're working out of it for a year or two before we sell it. So you can look on our website, graniteridgebuilders.com. You can see where all of these are located, a little bit of information. So give us a call because we would love to meet you at a home or visit us Sunday at an open house.
Okay, would you go ahead and close for us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please give us a call, visit our website, or even better yet, come in our front door. We'd love to greet you with some great energy and chi and design your next beautiful dream home.
Hey Kayla, did you see what I found? I went to the store, the library, and I got a Feng Shui for Dummies that's helped me out. I got lots of notes in here, so now Izzy can actually understand the book.
Perfect.
That's appropriate.
I would use this, man. I ain't got no shame. Interesting bookmarks.
Why don't we show them some pictures of...
Before.
Yeah.
Let's just show them some pictures.
Let's just show them some pictures.
Doesn't matter what it's on.